After decades of outdated railcars and packed commutes, the wait is finally over when Chicago Metra's next-generation trains hit the tracks. And they're not just new, they're a complete game changer. This new train isn't just a big win for Chicago, it's the first of its kind in the US, and it could finally help close the gap between American rail and what people see overseas. For years, a lot of folks in the US have felt disappointed, even a little embarrassed, watching countries in Europe and Asia roll out fast, clean, and reliable trains while we've struggled with outdated systems. Now, that might finally be changing. These new trains are built for comfort, reliability, and cleaner energy, giving Chicago commuters the kind of experience they've been waiting for. So, what's new here? What makes it better? And what does this mean for the future of getting around the city? More importantly, is this the kind of technology worth investing in, or should we be looking at other clean and safe transit solutions that other US transit systems are using or testing? We've got the full breakdown coming up. But before we jump in, if you like what you're about to see, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe. It really helps the channel and keeps us bringing you more updates like this. The Chicago Metra Battery Electric Multiple Unit BEMU Fleet Modernization Project marks a significant step toward cleaner, more sustainable transit in the region. As part of this initiative, Metra has embarked on an ambitious plan to integrate BEMU trains into its existing network. The new BEMU fleet will be the first zero-emission trains in Metra's history, aligning the agency with a growing national and global trend toward decarbonizing public transportation. Each base unit consists of 2 cars, with the flexibility to add 1 or 2 trailer cars, allowing for 3 or 4 car configurations based on passenger demand and route requirements. Manufactured with modern battery technology, the BEMU can operate entirely without diesel fuel, relying instead on battery packs that are recharged via charging infrastructure or potentially through regenerative braking. This design is particularly beneficial for non-electrified rail corridors, offering electrified service without the need for overhead wires or third rail power systems. This will be one of America's first battery-powered trains ever, a major step toward reducing emissions, cutting down on noise, and moving away from diesel entirely. It's the kind of upgrade that brings the US closer to the modern rail systems already running in parts of Europe and Asia, and it's happening right here, in Chicago. And to make this endeavor come true on February 19, 2025, Chicago's Metra Metropolitan Rail, Metra, has contracted STV to provide procurement support for battery-powered train sets. STV has worked with Metra for a long time, helping out with all kinds of engineering and planning projects. Lately, they've been getting more involved in zero-emission transit, starting with buses and now moving into trains. They've already worked on similar projects, like giving advice to LA's transit system and designing a facility for electric buses in Massachusetts. They've also been part of other rail projects around the US and Canada, including helping with dual-powered trains for NJ Transit and Metro North in New York. This might be one of the first in the US to use fully battery-powered trains for passenger service. The project includes 8 2-car battery electric trains, costing a total of $154 million. This price also includes money for training workers and providing spare parts. The trains are expected to arrive between 2027 and 2028. The train builder chosen for the project is Stadler, a company based in Switzerland that also builds trains in the US to follow the Buy America rules. The only other company that competed for the contract was Siemens. The contract also gives the agency the option to buy up to 8 more trains and 32 extra trailer cars. If they choose to buy everything, the total cost could reach $335.4 million. The project is also getting a big boost from a federal grant program called Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality, which is providing $169.3 million to help pay for projects that reduce traffic pollution and improve air quality. If the pilot is successful, they may use more of these trains across the whole system. The new trains will run on the Beverly branch of the Rock Island Line in Chicago. It was picked because the route is a good distance for battery-powered trains and because it still uses older diesel trains that need to be replaced. While the exact top speed of these trains hasn't been announced, they are expected to travel at about the same speed as other commuter trains in the US, which is usually between 60 and 80 miles per hour. The train uses battery power, which means it can run without fuel for about 44 to 66 miles on a full charge. It charges fast, going from 20% to 80% in just 20 to 30 minutes. The outside of the train is built with a smooth, modern shape to help it move through the air more easily, saving energy with significantly reduced noise levels. This helps lower noise pollution in both bustling urban areas and quieter residential neighborhoods, contributing to a more community-friendly transportation option. Inside, there's a strong focus on comfort and convenience. A typical two-car train holds 112 seats, and extra trailer cars can be added with 46 seats each. The train is fully accessible for people with disabilities. It has low-floor entry for easy boarding, wheelchair lifts, and accessible bathrooms in half of the trailer cars that might be added later. Moreover, a specially engineered design minimizes vibrations and ambient noise, creating a quieter and more relaxing environment for riders. Features like heated floors near the doors, sealed electrical parts, and equipment areas help the train keep working even in snow, ice, and freezing temperatures. The newly introduced train set is also equipped with air conditioning. This significantly enhances onboard comfort, especially during hot and humid summer days, as well as handles tough winters in cities like Chicago. Passengers can also enjoy helpful features like USB ports to charge their phones, screens showing travel information, easy-to-walk-through connections between train cars, and bike racks for those who want to ride their bikes to or from the train station. On March 18, 2025, a pivotal update was made to the future of regional rail as Stadler US announced it would equip its new train sets with ABB's Pro 8C traction batteries. The battery systems are equally essential in helping reduce CO2 emissions in line with California's long-term environmental objectives. Together, these technologies form not only a practical solution, but a forward-looking foundation for cleaner, smarter public transit. The latest announcement from Metra about introducing new battery-powered trains has sparked a wide range of reactions from transit fans and the public, mostly positive, with a mix of surprise and curiosity. Many were genuinely excited, especially about the fact that these new trains are modern BEMU and not just another diesel order from EMD. One commenter cheered, "OMG, it's for a BEMU, a multiple unit, on Metra. That is modern and isn't the electric district." Others pointed out the strategic advantage of getting trains that can work with overhead wires, saying it's a smart first step toward future electrification, even if Metra isn't stringing wires yet. There were also some surprised reactions, with people almost in disbelief that Metra is finally moving away from its usual diesel habits. Wait, what? Metra actually ordering new stock that isn't from EMD? Crazy world out there, one person noted. Still, a few were left scratching their heads about the price tag. Some questioned whether battery-powered trains are really more cost-effective compared to traditional electric or diesel units. But others quickly pointed out that Metra's price per train is actually in line with what other cities and countries have paid for similar flirt train sets. The trains will be built in the U.S., likely at Stadler's factory in Salt Lake City, Utah. This helps support American jobs and meets federal rules that require public vehicles to be made in the U.S. when federal money is used. Metra's new trains are fully electric, with no diesel fumes, no pollution. It's a big improvement for air quality in the city and a solid step in the fight against climate change. According to Metra, replacing just 3 of its older diesel locomotives with zero-emission battery-powered units is projected to cut nitrogen oxide emissions by more than 100 tons annually. Additionally, particulate matter emissions would be reduced by over 2 tons each year. These reductions are especially impactful in densely populated areas like Chicago, where rail corridors often run near residential neighborhoods. These new battery-powered trains are cheaper to run and fix than old-school diesel trains, especially when fewer people are riding. The rides are quieter, smoother, and more comfortable, which could convince more folks to hop on the train instead of driving. More riders equals more ticket sales, equals more money for the system. Plus, with federal funding backing the project, local areas along the route get a boost through new jobs and infrastructure spending. However, there is a complex task, as charging stations need to be strategically placed to support service frequency without causing operational delays. Additionally, there's the difficulty of integrating these battery-powered locomotives into an existing system that is still largely reliant on diesel power. The infrastructure, scheduling, and maintenance operations are all currently designed around traditional diesel engines, meaning substantial adjustments would be necessary to accommodate a mixed or fully electric fleet. In response to these challenges, Metra has issued a Request for Proposals (RFP) that calls on the rail industry to develop innovative solutions for transitioning to zero-emission technologies. But for now, the future of Metra is brighter.
Big news, Los Angeles. It finally happened. After years of gridlock, frustration, and endless debate, the $9.5 billion Purple Line extension is officially on its way. No more dreading the 405 or crawling down Wilshire. Soon you'll be gliding through the city underground instead. This isn't just another train, it's a fresh start for how Angelinos move. A real shift in the way the city connects. And in today's episode of Great Train Speed, we're diving into what's taking shape, why it matters, and exactly where the project stands right now. The story of Los Angeles' Purple Line begins in the 1990s, when Metro's first subway segment opened as part of an ambitious push to bring rail transit to the nation's car capital. Back then, service ended at Wilshire Western, a modest start for what many hoped would become a backbone of the region's mobility. By the early 2000s, however, the situation had shifted. Traffic on the west side had reached gridlock levels, population growth was accelerating, and concerns over air quality and sustainability pushed city leaders to look beyond freeways. Calls for extending the line west gained momentum, reinforced by voters who approved dedicated funding measures to expand rail. That momentum ultimately produced the Purple Line extension, a 9-mile expansion that represents one of the most significant transit undertakings in Los Angeles history. Built in 3 phases, the project will link Wilshire Western to the Westwood VA Hospital, strategically connecting major destinations along the corridor. Once complete, the extension will tie Koreatown, Beverly Hills, Century City, and UCLA into the broader metro system, offering tens of thousands of riders each day a faster, cleaner, and more reliable alternative to driving. With an estimated cost of $9.5 billion, funded through a combination of local sales tax measures and federal grants, the project is both a massive financial investment and a decisive step toward reshaping how Los Angeles moves. But what does this expansion look like on the ground? Which milestones have been achieved and what obstacles remain before completion? Most importantly, when will Angelinos finally be able to board the trains? Let's dive into those details in the next part. And if you want to keep tracking the progress of this monumental project, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter here on Great Train Speed. Building a subway under Wilshire Boulevard has been one of Los Angeles' longest transportation struggles, stretching back more than a century and marked by setbacks at nearly every turn. Back in those days, Wilshire was a corridor of mansions, upscale shops, and a thriving streetcar network. Yet wealthy residents worried about noise, vibrations, and the arrival of so-called undesirable passengers successfully lobbied to ban streetcars from the boulevard. The result was one of the first major streets in Los Angeles to prioritize buses over rail.
This is a very unique project.
But now everything has changed. The Purple Line extension is moving forward toward its completion, thanks largely to the tunnel boring machines, or TBM. These modern tunnel boring machines, stretching more than 400 feet and weighing close to 1,000 tons, can carve through soil while simultaneously installing precast concrete walls, turning the tunneling process into a safe, continuous operation. For the Purple Line extension, these TBMs are essential to the 9-mile project linking downtown Los Angeles to Westwood. A trip that currently takes an hour or more by car at rush hour will soon be reduced to just 25 minutes by train. Engineering challenges are constant. Crews employ earth pressure balanced TBMs to stabilize sensitive soils, while scout drilling is used to locate and clear hazards like abandoned oil wells. Each phase of the project reflects this technical precision. Section 1, running 3.9 miles from Wilshire La Brea to Wilshire La Cienega, adds 3 stations at La Brea, Fairfax, and La Cienega. At $3.1 billion, this first stage began construction in 2014 and is now more than 98% complete, on track to open in fall 2025. Final testing, surface restoration, and integration with the existing D line are now underway, highlighted earlier this year by a 70-day shutdown to connect systems and verify safety. Section 2 will push the line another 2.6 miles west to Century City by 2027, while Section 3 will extend 2.5 miles further to Westwood and the VA campus by 2028. These final phases are designed to tie UCLA, Century City, and one of LA's busiest employment hubs directly into the regional metro network. Still, no megaproject moves forward without obstacles. Funding debates, construction disruptions, and unforeseen ground conditions have all tested the line's progress. The question now is whether Los Angeles can finish what it started without the delays that often define U.S. transportation efforts. Do you think the Purple Line will stay on schedule, or will history repeat itself? Drop a 1 if you believe the project will hold steady, or a 0 if doubts remain.
And we are heading down to the Purple Line construction area.
Progress on the Purple Line extension has been steady, but not without its share of challenges. Crews have had to manage complex utility relocations, contend with unpredictable soil conditions, and carry out the delicate work of tunneling beneath one of Los Angeles's busiest corridors. Even so, engineering innovation, community support, and a shared recognition of the project's importance have kept it moving forward. With a $9.5 billion price tag, the Purple Line extension ranks among the most ambitious transit undertakings in Los Angeles history. Its scale has drawn criticism, particularly from those who argue that costs have escalated far beyond initial estimates and that congestion relief may prove limited. Supporters, however, point to long-term gains: cleaner air, reduced car dependency, and economic revitalization along the Wilshire corridor. The debate over whether the investment represents true taxpayer value remains a familiar theme in the city, where large-scale infrastructure projects have often struggled with overruns and delays. The human impact has been significant. Businesses along Wilshire Boulevard have endured years of disruption, from blocked sidewalks to constant construction noise, making it difficult to attract customers. Residents have faced dust, vibration, and the persistent rumble of heavy machinery outside their homes. Commuters, too, have absorbed the strain of lane reductions and detours on a corridor already notorious for gridlock. For many, the short-term inconvenience has been hard to accept, even with the promise of long-term transformation. Looking ahead, risks remain. While Section 1 nears completion, subsequent phases bring fresh uncertainties. Complex utility systems, shifting geological conditions, and tunneling beneath high-profile neighborhoods raise the possibility of delays. Political debates and funding challenges add another layer of risk, as is often the case with U.S. transit megaprojects. Yet Metro and its partners continue to frame the Purple Line as more than a construction effort. It is positioned as a once-in-a-generation investment in the city's future. In many ways, building the Purple Line extension is like assembling an immense puzzle beneath the city. It combines engineering skill, historical context, and civic ambition into a single project. And when the first trains finally roll, this won't simply be another subway. It will mark a milestone in how Los Angeles reinvents mobility for the decades ahead. So the questions remain. When will Angelenos finally board this long-awaited line? What changes will it bring to daily life in the city? And could it spark a wider transit transformation in Los Angeles? Those answers will unfold in time. Until then, we'll be here, following every step of the journey. What do you think of when you picture Minneapolis? Maybe it's the lakes, the trails, or the booming downtown skyline, but for thousands of daily commuters, it's also the hum of the Metro light rail gliding through the city. Now that the network is about to grow in a big way, the Blue Line extension is no longer just a plan. It's becoming a reality. Join us in today's episode of Great Train Speed as we explore how this project will shape the future of Minneapolis. Minneapolis remains a city where cars dominate daily travel, but its transportation network is steadily transforming. Over the past decade, the city has built one of the nation's most extensive systems of bike trails, pedestrian corridors, rail services, and bus rapid transit routes. Each investment expands choices beyond driving, easing congestion, while advancing broader goals of sustainability, emissions reduction, and equitable mobility. At the center of this shift is the Metro Light Rail System, the backbone of transit in the Twin Cities. The Green Line stretches east to St. Paul, connecting downtowns, major universities, and diverse neighborhoods. The Blue Line links Minneapolis with the airport and the Mall of America, making it indispensable for commuters, students, and travelers alike. Together, these lines have reshaped travel patterns along some of the region's busiest corridors. Expansion is pushing the system further. The Southwest LRT, a Green Line extension, is now over 90% complete. Test trains are expected on the tracks this fall, with full service targeted for 2027. Meanwhile, the Blue Line extension is advancing toward the northwest suburbs, promising faster and more reliable service to even more communities in the years ahead. Placed in a national context, the Twin Cities are joining a growing list of U.S. metros investing in modern rail infrastructure. Seattle is expanding its Link Light Rail, while Denver has steadily grown its commuter and light rail network since the Fast Tracks program. So, what exactly is the Blue Line Extension project stepping into? Let's dive into the next part to uncover the details. And if you're finding this informative, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss the latest updates about the world of trains right here on Great Train Speed. The Metro Blue Line extension has reached a pivotal milestone with the Federal Transit Administration's approval of its supplemental final environmental impact statement. This long-awaited decision closes years of technical review, heartfelt community dialogue, and tireless advocacy, allowing the Metropolitan Council to advance into final design and prepare for construction. Stretching 13.4 miles, the extension will finally deliver on a promise made more than a decade ago, linking downtown Minneapolis with North Minneapolis, Robbinsdale, Crystal, and Brooklyn Park. For many residents, the wait has been long and at times uncertain, but soon, faster, more reliable, and more equitable transit will be within reach. Officials now aim to see trains running by 2030. Imagine stepping onto a brand new station platform and knowing that better jobs, schools, and opportunities are just one ride away. As part of the Federal Transit Administration's approval, the project will roll out 2 dedicated funding programs designed to ease the disruption that comes with major construction. The first, a business support program, establishes a $5 million fund that will provide direct rent assistance to small enterprises along the alignment, with eligible businesses able to receive up to $30,000 each. This initiative acknowledges the economic strain that prolonged construction can place on local shops and services, and seeks to ensure they not only survive the disruption, but are well positioned to thrive once trains begin running. The second initiative, a community investment fund, also valued at $5 million, will channel grants to neighborhood organizations for programs such as rent and housing cost assistance. The goal is to help residents remain in their communities, preventing displacement and ensuring that the benefits of the new line uplift the very people who live along its path. These combined measures represent one of the most robust support packages ever paired with a transit expansion in Minnesota. The journey here has not been simple. Originally envisioned as the Bottineau LRT, the project's first alignment along a BNSF rail corridor collapsed in 2020 when the railroad denied access. What could have been the end instead became a turning point. A new route was reborn along County Road 81 and West Broadway, and by 2023, after passionate debate, the Minneapolis City Council gave its approval. The determination to keep the dream alive never wavered. Environmental reviews in 2024 and 2025 added another layer of accountability, embedding anti-displacement protections to safeguard the very communities the line will serve. Public voices remained central through open houses, surveys, and virtual meetings, ensuring this was never just a top-down plan, but a shared vision shaped by residents themselves. When complete, the extension's 13 new stations will connect seamlessly with the Metro Green Line, North Star commuter rail, and bus rapid transit, while opening doors to future transitways still ahead. For thousands of daily riders, these stations will become gateways to opportunity and connection. The Blue Line extension is more than transit. It's a story of resilience and partnership. It means families can remain in their homes, small businesses can grow, and neighborhoods won't be overlooked. As tracks are laid and stations rise, the question remains, will this be remembered as the moment the Twin Cities embraced a more inclusive, connected future? And even more with this change, the project has captured strong attention from both the government and citizens. Will this be the long-awaited breakthrough? Can it truly deliver faster, fairer connections? And most importantly, will the benefits outweigh the years of delay and disruption? Share your thoughts, drop a 1 if you agree, or a 0 if you feel differently. Your voice matters, and we'd love to hear your perspective. Hennepin County Board Chair Irene Fernando emphasized that the Blue Line extension represents a historic first for Minnesota. Never before has a major transit project carried with it such dedicated support for the residents and businesses most affected by construction. She stressed that the extension is far more than a transportation upgrade. It is a lifeline to opportunity, connecting thousands of people to jobs, schools, and healthcare. It is a generational investment, she noted, particularly for communities where daily life already depends on reliable transit. Light rail projects have consistently demonstrated their ability to fuel economic growth and attract new investment. The Blue Line extension is poised to unlock long overdue resources for some of Minnesota's most dynamic neighborhoods. Strategies outlined in the environmental review aim to ensure that these benefits are shared equitably, protecting current residents while also creating opportunities for future generations. At the same time, the documents address local concerns, from noise and vibration to parking and property impacts, reflecting a commitment to balance progress with community well-being. Public involvement will remain central as the project advances. Starting in autumn 2025, residents will be invited to help shape the community support programs, ensuring their voices guide how resources are distributed. The Metropolitan Council in Hennepin County, in partnership with federal agencies, will continue working toward a full funding grant agreement and the eventual start of construction. Metropolitan Council Chair Charlie Zell highlighted the broader significance of this milestone, calling it a forward-looking investment in the region's future. It brings us closer to advancing our regional transit vision, he said, to create jobs, improve mobility, and strengthen communities. Phoenix, a city long defined by endless freeways, scorching heat, and the hum of traffic in every direction. For decades, it was a place built for drivers, not for walkers or riders. Suburbs stretched out toward the horizon, wide roads cut through neighborhoods, and public transit was often little more than an afterthought. But something is shifting. Like many cities across America, Phoenix is beginning to rethink what movement means. People are asking for more access, more freedom, more connection. And against the odds, this car-centric desert city is rising to the challenge. Phoenix is slowly but surely building a future where you don't need a car to live fully. So, how exactly is Phoenix turning this bold vision into reality? Let's dive in and uncover the moves they're making, right here in today's episode of Great Train Speed. Long before Phoenix became known for its vast freeways and car-dependent sprawl, the city had a functioning streetcar network. As the capital of the Arizona Territory, Phoenix introduced its first horse-drawn streetcar line in 1888, just 3 years after the arrival of the railroad. By 1893, the system had transitioned to electric streetcars, reflecting a national trend toward modern urban mobility. Despite having a modest population of just 5,500 people by 1900, Phoenix supported multiple streetcar lines, weaving through the growing city. At the time, public transit wasn't just an option, it was essential for moving people through Arizona's emerging capital. By the 1940s, Phoenix's streetcar system began to falter, a fate shared by many U.S. cities. A major fire in 1947 destroyed much of the fleet and the storage barn, crippling the network overnight. Without the resources or political will to rebuild, Phoenix officially shut down its streetcar operations. In place of rail, the city turned to bus systems, but these were often inefficient and frequently delayed by traffic. Over time, the city doubled down on automobile infrastructure, laying the groundwork for decades of car-first urban design. While cities like Los Angeles rapidly built highways such as the 110 Harbor Freeway or Detroit with the Davison Freeway, Phoenix was relatively late in developing a comprehensive freeway system. Most of its major highways didn't arrive until the late 20th century, long after suburban growth had already spread far from the urban core. As a result, the city's layout increasingly relied on cars as a necessity, not a choice. By 2000, Phoenix's population had ballooned to over 1.3 million residents, a dramatic jump from its early days. This growth sparked a long overdue realization. The city needed a reliable, modern transit system.
It's about time. Your time. Vote yes on Prop 2000.
In response, Phoenix voters passed the Transit 2000 Regional Plan, setting the stage for a transit revival. This included securing funding and launching construction of what would become the Valley Metro Light Rail, starting with the South Central Extension. Unlike many new systems that struggled to attract riders in their early years, Valley Metro defied expectations. Ridership quickly surpassed projections, prompting early extensions to Mesa and eventually North Phoenix. What started as a cautious experiment began evolving into the backbone of Phoenix's future mobility strategy. So, what exactly is Phoenix doing to make this transformation a reality? And how could these projects become a defining moment in the city's transit evolution? In the next section, we'll explore the key developments driving this change. If you're curious to learn more about how Phoenix is reshaping its future, stick around, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates just like this. Right now, Phoenix is pushing ahead with big transit projects to change how people move around the city. It's not just about laying new tracks, it's about connecting communities, improving access, and creating a greener future. With new light rail lines and better bus routes, public transportation is finally becoming a real priority here. Among Phoenix's recent milestones, the South Central Extension Downtown Hub project stands out as a turning point. Officially opened on June 7, 2025, this project adds 5.5 miles of new light rail track to the city's system, extending service southward from downtown Phoenix to the South Mountain Village core. Led by Valley Metro Rail, the extension isn't just longer, it's smarter. For the first time, Phoenix now operates a two-line light rail system. The A-line travels from Gilbert Road Main Street in Mesa to the new downtown hub. The B-line connects Metro Parkway in northwest Phoenix to Baseline Road, Central Avenue. These two lines converge at the newly constructed downtown hub, a high-capacity interchange designed to make transfers smoother and reduce overall wait times. The corridor includes 8 new stations, from Jefferson 3rd Avenue to Southern Avenue, all strategically placed to improve accessibility while minimizing travel time. On opening day, more than 5,000 community members gathered alongside federal, state, and local officials to mark the occasion. Phoenix Mayor called it a historic extension, emphasizing its contributions to sustainability, accessibility, and community vibrancy, including new bike lanes, shaded walkways, and public art installation. She also noted its importance in connecting residents to jobs, schools, healthcare, and entertainment across the valley. Phoenix District 7 Councilwoman Ana Hernandez added, "The residents of South Phoenix have waited a long time for this connection. A robust light rail system isn't just a convenience, it's the future of our city. Following close behind is the Capitol Extension, a smaller but symbolically important project. It will bring light rail access to the western edge of downtown, including the Arizona State Capitol Complex. Though the project has faced political resistance and funding delays, it remains a critical step in unifying the city's core transit grid. What's your take on all this? Are these transit projects exactly what Phoenix needs, or not quite? Drop a 1 in the comments if you think they're a must for the region, or a 0 if you see it differently. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Amtrak train line connecting Phoenix to Tucson is a little closer to becoming a reality.
While Phoenix is making bold moves within the city limits, there's also momentum building for intercity rail, particularly between Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona's two largest urban centers. This would mark a major step in restoring regional connectivity and reducing long-term reliance on cars for long-distance travel. For the first time in more than 25 years, Amtrak is working to bring passenger rail service back to Phoenix. Once served by the Sunset Limited, the city lost its Amtrak connection in 1996 when the route was shifted south through the city of Maricopa. Since then, Phoenix has been the largest U.S. city without direct Amtrak service, a gap that may finally close. The plan to restore rail service was first proposed in 2015, aiming to reconnect Phoenix and Tucson with 3 daily round-trip trains, each taking approximately 2 hours and 25 minutes. Rather than building entirely new infrastructure, the service would run on existing Union Pacific freight rail corridors, making use of current rights-of-way while significantly easing congestion along the I-10 corridor, one of the busiest highways in the state. Momentum accelerated in December 2023 when the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, awarded a $500,000 grant as part of its Corridor Identification and Development Program, officially approving Phase 1 of the planning process. This followed a broader federal infrastructure funding package which allocated $349 million to Arizona, some of which is expected to support further development of the Phoenix-Tucson corridor. According to the Arizona Department of Transportation, ADOT, the current planning phase will take approximately 2 to 3 years to complete. During this stage, the focus will be on identifying potential station locations, analyzing travel demand data, estimating infrastructure upgrades, and projecting both capital and long-term maintenance costs. These components are essential for building a strong foundation for the proposed Phoenix-Tucson intercity rail corridor. ADOT has allocated a budget of $10.6 million for this phase. Completing it successfully will qualify the project to advance to the third and final step in the federal development pipeline, a comprehensive engineering and environmental review as required under federal law for all major rail infrastructure projects. This next stage would also take an additional 2 to 3 years, bringing the total pre-construction timeline to around 5 to 6 years. To meet federal requirements, the project must include a 20% state funding match alongside the federal contributions. In support of this effort, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs has already committed $3.5 million toward the planning process, demonstrating both political will and fiscal commitment at the state level. With these initial milestones achieved, the Phoenix-Tucson rail corridor is now more than just a concept, it's a project with a clear roadmap. And while the timeline is long, the potential impact is equally significant, reducing traffic congestion, offering a viable alternative to driving, and bringing back passenger rail to Arizona's capital for the first time in over 2 decades. If successful, this project will not only reconnect 2 major cities, but could also serve as a blueprint for future intercity rail corridors across the Southwest and beyond. For years, Phoenix may have been built for cars, but its future is being reshaped by rail, bus, and bold ideas. From long-awaited neighborhood connections to the dream of riding a train between Phoenix and Tucson, the city is proving that transformation is possible, even in the heart of the desert. It's not just about catching up with the rest of the world, it's about setting an example for what American transit can be. The road ahead won't be easy, but one thing is clear: Phoenix is no longer standing still, it's moving forward, one rail at a time.
Something big is brewing on the rails of the South Coast. For the first time, MBTA and Keolis are putting traditional diesel on trial to test a cleaner, renewable fuel that could dramatically reduce train emissions. It's part of a quiet but urgent push to give rail passengers a healthier ride. But what exactly is this new fuel? Why does this moment feel like a turning point for rail travel in the region? And most crucially, how will MBTA and Keolis decide if this bold pilot is worth scaling across the entire network? Let's find out in today's episode of Great Train Speed. In 2024, Massachusetts Senator Edward Markey and other representatives urged the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to update national air pollution standards for locomotives to protect rail workers in nearby communities. They highlighted that current standards haven't been revised since 2008 and that many locomotives still emit uncontrolled pollution. Additionally, 40 members called on the Department of Transportation and the EPA to prioritize unionized labor in green train transition programs. The letter stresses the health risks posed by outdated diesel locomotives and calls for stronger regulations. Since 2008, the EPA has failed to modernize its rules, despite overwhelming scientific evidence showing that diesel exhaust harms air quality, accelerates climate change, and worsens public health. By 2016, nearly half of all locomotive emissions in the U.S. were going unregulated, and the burden has fallen hardest on communities, especially those living near rail lines, where the air is often thick with the exhaust of outdated engines. In Massachusetts, that urgency is echoed by environmental justice advocates like the Sierra Club and community-based organizations. Their message is simple: electrify the MBTA commuter rail system. While federal action moves slowly, the Commonwealth is stepping forward, adopting policies like the Advanced Clean Truck Rule and expanding electric vehicle incentives to cut emissions from trucks and buses. Most importantly, the MBTA has committed to fully electrifying its commuter rail system by 2035. Nowhere is the need more pressing than along Boston's Fairmount line, where trains pass behind communities that lead to some of the state's highest asthma and respiratory illness rates. For these residents, electrification is not just about cleaner trains. As of now, Keolis has announced a call for proposals from manufacturers to produce new battery-electric multiple-unit trains for the MBTA Fairmount line. As the operator and maintenance partner of MBTA's commuter rail system, Keolis anticipates these trains will begin operation in 2028. In the meantime, another solution is being considered. Recently, an official announcement came that locomotives servicing Newburyport, Massachusetts are now running on hydro-treated vegetable oil, HVO, which is known as a renewable diesel fuel at the center of a groundbreaking pilot program launched in May 2025 by Keolis Commuter Services, in partnership with the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, MBTA. The initiative targets all locomotives laying over at the Newburyport Commuter Rail Facility, which has become the state's first operational hub for testing this cleaner alternative in real-world conditions. How does this development represent a breakthrough for the region's rail system? While not entirely emission-free like electric trains, hydro-treated vegetable oil, HVO, presents a powerful interim solution, delivering up to a 70% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions over its life cycle while significantly cutting harmful pollutants. One of HVO's key advantages is its compatibility with existing engines and fueling infrastructure, eliminating the need for costly upgrades and enabling immediate deployment with high environmental and public health impact. This practical, low-barrier shift fits into a broader regional effort. Massachusetts is working closely with other states through coalitions like the Multi-State Zero-Emission Vehicle Task Force and the Transportation and Climate Initiative to reduce transportation-related emissions and accelerate the transition to clean energy solutions. These partnerships reflect a shared recognition. While long-term electrification is the goal, interim steps like HVO adoption can bridge the gap effectively. We're already seeing how this transition can take shape. In San Francisco, for example, Caltrain's electrification project, launched in 2024, has replaced aging diesel locomotives with electric multiple units, leading to dramatic reductions in onboard air pollution and marking a major milestone in urban rail modernization. Together, these efforts illustrate how both short-term fuels like HVO and long-term electrification can complement each other on the path to cleaner, healthier rail systems. Energy transitions, the shared goal is clear: reduce pollution and improve daily life. But the degree and nature of the impact differ in meaningful ways. In San Francisco, Caltrain has phased out diesel locomotives in favor of fully electric trains, achieving near-zero local emissions. The result is dramatic. Noise levels have dropped, engine idling has disappeared, and researchers have measured a nearly 90% reduction in black carbon levels inside the trains, making onboard air significantly healthier for passengers. For communities living along the corridor, this shift means cleaner neighborhoods, reduced respiratory risks, and quieter surroundings. While the Downeaster expansion project offers numerous advantages, it still encounters significant obstacles. So, what are the hurdles preventing its progress despite broad support? Before we jump into the next section, make sure to subscribe and keep up with our latest updates. Even though this project was quite promising, it also faced several challenges. Chief among these is cost. HVO is notably more expensive than conventional fossil diesel, primarily due to its more intensive production process, which involves hydrogen treatment, advanced refining. Although the MBTA has not released cost data for the Newburyport pilot, it is likely that long-term affordability will be a decisive factor in whether the use of HVO can extend beyond a localized test phase. Equally critical is the challenge of supply chain infrastructure. HVO depends on a steady, scalable flow of waste-based feedstocks such as used cooking oils, animal fats, and industrial food waste. While this reliance on waste products is part of what makes HVO environmentally attractive, it also introduces complexity into the fuel's manufacturing. Feedstocks must be collected, refined, and transported across long distances, which can strain logistics networks and inflate the carbon footprint if not carefully managed. From a manufacturing perspective, the challenges of scaling HVO production go far beyond simply increasing output. Meeting the precise chemical standards necessary for compatibility with modern diesel engines demands advanced hydrogenation technology and specialized refining facilities. Since the promising future of the project was revealed, how have local residents reacted to its progress, and what impact do they expect it to have? And do you think these challenges can hold the program back? Drop a 1 if you agree, or 0 if you're not sure yet. The announcement of the MBTA's plan to use hydrotreated vegetable oil, HVO, as a renewable fuel sparked a variety of reactions from viewers. Some expressed confusion and skepticism, questioning whether traditional diesel engines could effectively run on this alternative fuel. Critics caution that reliance on HVO might slow investment in fully electric or hydrogen-powered trains, which promise zero emissions and long-term sustainability. On the other hand, many responded with excitement and support, appreciating the idea as long as it does not compromise the commuter rail's on-time performance, which remains a critical priority for passengers. Technically knowledgeable viewers shared that converting engines to run on HVO is relatively straightforward, requiring only minor modifications like a heat converter to warm the fuel, making the project seem feasible and practical. However, despite the positive feedback, a significant portion of the community voiced a clear preference for full electrification of the rail system, considering it the ultimate solution for zero emissions and long-term sustainability. Keolis has secured a new contract from the Stockholm Regional Transport Authority to manage and operate an extensive network of urban and suburban bus routes across the municipalities located north and west of Stockholm. This 10-year agreement, valued at over 600 million euros, commenced in August 2024. This project marks Keolis' second initiative utilizing HVO diesel technology following their ongoing pilot program with the MBTA. This contract not only reinforces Keolis's commitment to sustainable and innovative public transportation solutions, but also highlights their growing expertise in deploying cleaner fuel technologies like HVO diesel. It's an exciting step forward in shaping greener urban mobility and reducing environmental impact in major cities. As MBTA General Manager Philip Eng affirmed, this pilot is a vital step forward in the agency's ongoing commitment to slash its carbon footprint and build a more resilient transit system. Keolis CEO emphasized the urgency of embracing innovative solutions like HVO to meet Massachusetts' ambitious climate goals and accelerate the shift away from car dependency. For decades, America was driven by highways and jet engines. But now, a quiet rail revival is finally gaining momentum. The launch of Amtrak's newest train, the Borealis, reflects a growing shift in national priorities. As the U.S. looks ahead to a future defined by sustainability, regional connectivity, and modern infrastructure, Borealis marks a significant step toward reimagining what rail travel can be. This train is about restoring confidence in American passenger rail and proving that bold, forward-looking ambition still runs on steel tracks. Why does this one train matter so much? Let's find out in today's episode of Great Train Speed. Amtrak Borealis is the newest train that operates daily between Chicago, Illinois, and St. Paul, Minnesota, with a stop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It shares part of the same rail corridor as the Empire Builder. On May 21, 2025, Amtrak celebrated a big moment, the first year of the Borealis, and it came with something worth cheering about, a strong, growing ridership between St. Paul and Chicago. Since launching, the train has been running daily thanks to support from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and in just 11 months, more than 205,000 people chose to ride it. That's a clear sign it's meeting a real need. Even more impressive? When you add in Amtrak's Empire Builder, which also runs daily on the same route, total ridership along the St. Paul-Chicago corridor hit over 293,000. That's a huge 227% jump from the year before, proof that more and more people are turning to trains to get around the Midwest. Amtrak President Roger Harris called the numbers exciting and said he's confident this momentum will only build in the years ahead. For Amtrak and rail passengers across the region, the Borealis is already making a real difference. Right now, a lot of big rail projects in the U.S. are hitting roadblocks, mainly because of funding cuts. Take California's high-speed rail project, for example. It's supposed to connect Los Angeles and San Francisco with trains that could make the trip in under 3 hours. Sounds great, right? But in early June 2025, the Trump administration announced plans to pull back $4 billion in federal funding. A report released on June 5th painted a tough picture. The project is still $7 billion short, and there's no clear plan for how they'll close the gap. The Texas high-speed rail project isn't doing much better. The plan was to build a fast train between Dallas and Houston, but the U.S. Department of Transportation just pulled a $63.9 million planning grant. According to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, both the FRA and Amtrak agreed it wasn't worth the money, saying it would just distract from fixing Amtrak's current system, which, let's face it, still has a lot of catching up to do. While a lot of big rail projects across the country are struggling to stay on track, the Amtrak Borealis has been getting solid support from both federal and state governments, and that's no small win. To kick things off, the project landed a $31.8 million grant from the Federal Railroad Administration to upgrade tracks and infrastructure. Then came extra help, $10 million from Minnesota, $6.5 million from Wisconsin, and $5 million from Amtrak itself. To keep the train running smoothly during its early years, the FRA also chipped in another $12.6 million to help cover operating costs for the first 3 years. After that, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois are all pitching in to share the load. But the real boost came in early 2025. The Borealis got $38 million more as part of a larger $145.9 million federal grant package announced by Representative Betty McCollum. Betty McCollum. That money helps cover its second year of operations and provides extra support for up to 6 years. And it wasn't just about trains. This funding also backed other important Minnesota projects, like a study for a future land bridge in St. Paul's Rondo neighborhood, the installation of nearly 2,000 EV chargers, road improvements on Robert Street in West St. Paul, and digital access programs for local universities and nonprofits. So why is the Borealis getting all this attention and funding, especially when other train projects are losing steam? What makes this one different? We'll dive into all the details in just a moment, but real quick, if you want to stay in the loop on what's really happening across the country, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps us out, and you'll never miss the latest updates on stories like this one. Launched on May 21st, the Borealis has brought a meaningful upgrade to passenger rail service in the Midwest, providing a much-needed second daily option between St. Paul's Union Depot and Chicago. Designed to complement the long-running Empire Builder, the Borealis helps fill long-standing gaps in the region's intercity travel network. Borealis trains depart daily, with service starting from St. Paul around midday and from Chicago in the late morning. Amtrak offers everyday discounts for a wide range of travelers, including children ages 2 to 12, students, seniors, veterans, military personnel, and families, groups, and more, making the service both accessible and affordable. On board, passengers can relax in wide reclining seats with plenty of legroom, and there are no middle seats. A big plus for comfort. A cafe car featuring regional food and drink options adds to the experience, while the scenic ride along the Mississippi River between St. Paul and La Crosse, Wisconsin, offers stunning views in both directions. Behind the scenes, the Borealis project was shaped by Amtrak's 2015 feasibility study, which analyzed potential ridership, revenue, and 4 different route scenarios. In the end, Scenario 4, terminating at Union Depot in St. Paul, was selected for its operational simplicity and cost-effectiveness. Thanks to a major renovation in 2012, Union Depot already had the track and signal capacity needed for Borealis service, requiring no major infrastructure upgrades to get started. And honestly, it's no surprise. Since its launch on May 21st, the Borealis has been crushing expectations. In its first 11 days, the route actually turned a profit, something incredibly rare for state-supported rail. In fact, it was one of only 2 Amtrak routes out of 30 supported by states to pull that off in 2024. During that short window, 6,600 passengers hopped aboard, generating $600,000 in revenue, well above its $500,000 in operating costs. The momentum didn't stop there. In September alone, more than 18,000 people chose the Borealis, keeping it right on track for its annual projection of 232,000 riders. And by the 22nd week mark, the train had already welcomed over 100,000 passengers, blowing past early estimates. By November 2024, it was getting pretty clear. One Borealis train just isn't enough. More and more people were riding, and the demand kept growing. To figure out what's next, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation kicked off a study to look at adding a second daily round trip. At first, the details were still up in the air, but now consultants are digging into the real stuff: how much it'll cost, how long it'll take, and how it might work alongside other new routes being considered to Madison, Eau Claire, and Green Bay. It's a strong sign that people don't just want this train. They rely on it, and they're hoping for even more. So why does this train attract so much attention from riders more than any other train that operates on the same route? If you had the chance, would you ride the Borealis? Drop a 1 if you're on board, or a 0 if you'd pass. We'd love to hear what you think. Tell us why in the comments. So let's be honest. The Empire Builder is a classic, but it's starting to show its age. This historic route from Chicago to the Pacific Northwest has been under fire lately for its awkward schedule, long travel times, and outdated amenities. For many riders, especially families, students, and business travelers, early morning departures and late-night arrivals just don't work. That's where the Borealis really stands out. With midday departures, 11:05 a.m. from Chicago and 11:50 a.m. from St. Paul, the Borealis has been a breath of fresh air. It's fixed a lot of what passengers have been complaining about for years. Not only does it shave 31 minutes off the trip compared to the Empire Builder, But it also offers free Wi-Fi, roomy Horizon coaches, a cafe car, and business class seating. Comforts that actually feel like they belong in 2025. Still, there's one big catch. The Borealis only runs once a day. That means there are still gaps in the schedule, and not everyone can make that single departure time work. That's why by November 2024, support for adding a second daily Borealis train really started to pick up. A second train could help ease the pressure on the Empire Builder and give passengers more flexibility, which makes the case for expanding modern rail service even stronger. Here's another big reason people are choosing the Borealis over the Empire Builder: better connections. Sure, the Empire Builder is a long-haul legend, running all the way from Chicago to Seattle or Portland and covering over 2,200 miles. But it mostly stops in big cities like Milwaukee, St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Spokane, which means a lot of smaller towns get left out. The Borealis, on the other hand, has 11 stops along its route, including both major hubs and smaller communities that don't usually have many travel options. That gives passengers more flexibility, especially for shorter trips. And people are taking full advantage of that. According to Ramsey County officials, plenty of riders are hopping on for quick trips to places like Red Wing and La Crosse, proving that the Borealis isn't just for long-distance travelers, it's a real solution for everyday mobility. In Wisconsin alone, the train's coverage area, or travel shed, reaches about 59% of the state's population. That's huge. But the Borealis is more than just a convenient ride. It's becoming a key piece of the region's future. For decades, the entire Minneapolis-St. Paul Metro, with over 3 million people, had only one Amtrak train: the Empire Builder. Now, with the Borealis in the mix, the Twin Cities finally have a second rail option, and that's a major step forward for the Midwest. What makes this even more impressive is how it came together. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois teamed up to make the Borealis happen, showing how much can be done when states work together. The launch also lines up with the Federal Railroad Administration's Midwest Regional Rail Plan, which imagines a future where cities like Chicago and the Twin Cities are connected by a faster, more frequent rail network. Sure, the Borealis still shares tracks with freight trains, and it's not high speed yet, but its success is drawing attention and investment to the corridor. And it's laying the groundwork for even more improvements down the line, like additional daily trains and new routes to places like Madison and Eau Claire. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. We had a great time putting this together and hope you liked it too. Catch you in the next one. Take care.